Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while it is live, but most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number one, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. In a moment, I'm going to transition across to a message from HSP Gang, as he seems to have informed his followers that he will be mass flagging one of my videos today. So I thought I'd get that in nice and early just in case YouTube wanted to be aware of why there were so many flags from spammers who have pre-decided that this show is going to be inappropriate for YouTube consumption. We are also joined by Sleeping Warrior. How are you doing, Sleeping Warrior? Very good to have you here.
Good morning, flag victim. How are we?
Very well, very well. No complaints.
So let me just read this. I'm organising a spam flag of Nathan's video. Info on which video to flag and on what for will be posted here tomorrow. For those that don't want to take part, you can... What? Smiley face. P.S. Don't come crying to me about how this is wrong, because I don't give a flying monster. Right. So... do we need to go through what is permitted on YouTube in terms of use and community guidelines, or is it worth just laughing at them? I guess he's...
I think we should just ignore them. I've got you presented now, so if you just want to go through what you were going to go through, well, that's enough of that, you know.
Okay, well, we'll ignore them then, in that case. Bring it on. Challenge them, because guess what? We're allowed the right to respond. Guess what? We're allowed to talk, critique, challenge, and we can attack you guys based on the nonsense that you preach. And preach is the word. Now, yesterday, Miles did a response video in response to me proving that he was lying about the observation height at 40 feet. And we've got three attacks that we're going to do today. We're going to deal with Miles, we're going to deal with GeoStreamer, and we're going to deal with... There was a third one. I can't remember which one it is now. But in any event, we'll get these. I don't know. Should we do them now, or should we wait until more people get in and see this? Because I really want more people to see this bit about Miles.
Oh, we've got a couple of guests. So I'll just say hello to our couple of guests that we've got. I don't know if they're both on mute, but certainly. Hello, Arwin. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We got 38 watching right now. So.
Say again?
We got 38 watching right now.
Indeedy.
39.
Cool.
Sure.
Good to have
We're just going to fill in a bit of space until we get more people on, because the more people that watch this bit, the better. Because I want people to see this, because we got liars on that. We've got rats floating around, and there's flat coming my way, flat coming Nathan's way, but we're not the ones that are telling pork pies here. You guys are. And guess what? We can prove it. We can prove it, present it, and show people what the lies are. And guess what? I don't care what the position is if you're going to complain about it. You're lying. That's the simple truth. Telling pork pies. Anyway.
I mean, I'm happy to get straight into it. You're saying you want to wait a little bit of time, but I'm happy to get into it. Let's just go. Let's just get on with it.
Well, was there another guest?
There's Spurs, but he's on mute and he hasn't come off mute, so I don't know if he's around.
Sly Sparkane says in chat, yes, attack, but back with proof. Oh, I have done, Sly. I've presented proof all the way. And we've got in this instance, the next one I'm going to be talking about is a double down from Miles the Lie Davis, and then he's triple down. He's tripling down his lie. Now, that means that he's either absolutely adamant he's right, or he's tripling down. Now, he's already double down, and now he's tripling down. So I'm going to present the evidence that he's lied, and you can be your own judge. I'm satisfied that he's telling lies, because fundamentally he's fudging the maths to make his premise correct. He's not fudging the maths to be truthful. He's fudging the maths. That in itself is nonsense. That's called lying, and we'll show it. Right, so I need to pull up what's his name? Miles the Liar. Let me pull up his video so we can get the screenshot from it. Cyberbullying crossing the line between cyberbullying. He's pulling the victim card. Right, forget that. Quick, there it is.
Really?
It does. It does.
Pardon?
Say again.
Say
Alan.
again.
Did you think you're really bullying them? Like that could work?
Well, I've just seen a video that he's doing a cyberbullying thing, so I'm assuming that that's going to be aimed at me. And if it is, guess what? It ain't bullying. It's not bullying, Miles. If you're telling lies, it's called fair criticism and calling you out. Now, if you look at the way that we get treated, when somebody like, for example, but not limited to, Sean Hufford, thinks for whatever reason that these caravans are 4 feet tall, right? He'll call me on that lie because he thinks that I'm pushing that these caravans must be 4 feet tall. No, it's not what I'm saying. So I'm not going to go too much on a tangent, but I'm going to point out what I really want to do is point out the bit where he's got. It's going to have to be that one. I really wanted that picture. Where was that picture from? It was in the end of that hangout, wasn't it? Just bear with me while I find the actual picture, because it helps if I have his main picture on screen.
End of 140.
It helps a lot.
I think it's end of 140.
Yeah, it was the last 10 minutes or so, wasn't it? Last 10 minutes of 140. Yeah, this is it.
And he spent the rest of the day doing other measurements.
Right. Here's the thing. Miles's video claims that he was at 40 feet when he took this video. And the reason why I'm attacking this is because him at 40 feet here, and I'm saying I'm at 35 feet alongside this caravan, means that one of us is clearly wrong and one of us is lying. Okay? And I've reasserted my position that the 35 feet is both measured and it's not wildly inaccurate, and I'm happy with it. I've also measured this point. Miles has put in that he was at 40 feet. Now, this is clearly not 40 feet. Now, I'm not great on distances at height. Ranty said, if you've never done it working at height, then you're not going to be good at it and you shouldn't really have a view on it. Shut the door.
Okay, but seeing from the picture, I don't know. Couldn't it be 40 feet? Because it's much closer up, so it just looks like the hill is not very high at this point, especially to the contrast of the hill further down at the horizon, but it doesn't have to be much lower.
Sure.
It's measured by two different people, Arwen. That's the problem.
Yeah,
so one,
if you actually physically measured it, then that's another matter.
We have. So two people have measured it. Al K has gone with a 16-foot pole and measured the height of the hill. So from, if you can, I don't know if you can see my mouse pan, where my mouse is in the hangout, but for the benefit of the audience, we've measured down to here, and Al K has measured down to here, to this point where the tripod is. So the hill, the actual steep bit, the bit with a drop, is 20 feet. This bit here, between the pebbles and the shore, which is obviously nowhere near as steep and nowhere near as far, is claimed to also be 20 feet. So in other words, they're saying that the same drop applies to both this very steep hill and this very shallow, very short bit of shoreline. And that's just total nonsense. That's not 40 feet. It's only 22, 23 at best. You know, these guys have been very, very gracious and given him 29 just by adding on everything feasible that could be added on to get him up to as close to higher elevations. But realistically, you know, talking 2 or 3 feet drop in this part of the beach. This bit's measured. It's 20 feet.
We gave him 6. But realistically, 2 or 3 feet is, yeah, that's right. But so we gave him 6 just because basically Miles did not give us this evidence at the time he made the video. He told us when he made this video, when challenged on his the height of the tide, he told us that he didn't take the tide. There was no evidence of it. We had to take his word that it was high tide. Okay, so then we went and looked at what the tide was, and it was the highest tide of the week. Just so happened that Miles was there at the highest tide of the week, at the highest tide of the week at high tide. Now, it was 5 minutes or so after high tide, he tells us. So when we worked out that drop, it was 5 centimeters. So for all intensive purposes, it was high tide on the highest tide of the week. And this does not look like the highest tide of the week, because I've shown that high tide at St. Bees goes up to and over these blocks because there's erosion in place. These rocks are all here because of erosion. So this isn't consistent with the highest tide of the week being 5 centimeters below high tide. Sorry, Miles, it just isn't. But I'm going to show that we measured this cliff, or this mound. Let's not call it a cliff. We'll call it a mound. Ranty and I measured this cliff. I'm just bringing it up now. Bear with me. Just get rid of that. bring this one up here so it can be seen. Now, Miles had a tripod on which his camera sat. This represents the tripod, so it's relatively accurate for the top part of the thing. We have the tape coming down, and as you can see at the bottom, we're just getting ready to line it up. We're getting ready to pull the tape taut. We're getting ready to get a measured angle, and we're getting ready to get the measured hypotenuse.
Can you pause it there? Pause it there. That to me looks about the same level of where the C was as in Miles' picture, approximately. You know, it might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less. But essentially what's being claimed is from where Anthony is crouching to the C is the same height as what they're measuring right now on screen. So you've got to accept that from this point mid-frame where Anthony is to the shore is the same height as this hill, which is considerably steeper and considerably further.
Of course. And in the absence of Miles presenting this evidence in the first place, this is why we're in this position. Because Miles criticises me for failing to provide GPS, failing to provide elevation data, failing to do stuff right, and he's done the exact thing that he accuses me of not doing well. Now, I'm here doing the actual measurements, right? And at this point, my view is I don't care what either model says. I don't care what Google Earth says. I don't care what Ordnance Survey map says. I'm measuring the height that Miles has done to see what it actually is, using basic trigonometry and using basic rules of angular measurements and stuff. Just getting rid of that loud person in the background. Right. So I don't care what the value is that either model says, because I'm measuring it, right? Now, I get told that my vertical's not vertical enough. So at this point, we're looking to see what the measured hypotenuse is. We'll call it 57 feet for the purposes of rounding things up to be more favourable to Miles. But we correct the pole height, the verticalness of the pole, right? Okay. So then what we do is once it's there, you go. There's the adjustment for the pole, and again we're still at 56 and a bit. So we'll call it 57 to just give Miles a little bit more height because it will affect the height a little bit. It'll go in his favour. And of course, this is where we put the lines in. Now, what Miles doesn't know is that the verticalness of the stick is vertical. So this gives you an accurate vertical stick, but it's the external angle. We want the internal angle, but there's no reference for you to have. But there's a little trick in Paint. If you hold down the Shift key when you put your line in, it puts in a dead straight line. Now, if you're happy to accept that this is vertical, because it is, then you put a horizontal line in by holding down the Shift key, and then all of a sudden you've got your internal angle. Now, if you're not happy with the verticalness, you can just measure the external angle because it doesn't matter whether it's vertical or not. But I'm happy that that's vertical. So I just put my horizontal line in. But it gives you a choice then. You can either do the measured internal based on the horizontal, which is horizontal, or you can calculate or measure the external angle and then minus it off 90 and it'll give you your internal angle. But that doesn't rely on this being straight then. So that is very accurate. Miles made a bit of an issue about it, but nonetheless, it doesn't make any difference. I'm measuring it. I don't care what Ordnance Survey says. I don't care what Google Earth says, because both them two references sight down to mean sea level. Okay, doesn't really help us. We want to know what the height above water is. Height above water, not height above mean sea level. Height above water. That's what we want to know. So if we can establish what the hill is, we can establish. You know, we can make it, if you measure it or you calculate it or you guess it based on from this lower elevation, it's a lot more accurate than from the top of a mound. Anyway, so we get the hypotenuse measurement. We've got the angle and I presented it. We did the trig on it and it turned out, what do you know, 19.5 feet. And what that means is that when you do, and I'm not going to show it now because I've done it in the previous hangout, but from my hand, which is where the apex of this joint is, to the top where Ranty stood, which is the top of the post that he puts his thing in. Where is it? There we go. To the point where he's got his hand, which is essentially the lens on the camera. That is 19.5 feet down to the bottom there. That's it, right? So then the rest, all we've got to then do is make an adjustment for the tide. Now, what's most interesting here is I'm now going to play the clips from Miles's videos where he's both lied and doubled down, then tripled down. And you can be your own judge. You tell me, is this innocent mistake? Or is it lies? Or have I got this wrong somehow? Please be my guest.
This is the Ordnance Survey wrong. I mean, that's the other alternative. I mean, maybe it's just that Miles has been misled by the inaccuracy of the Ordnance Survey map, and it seems that he's used his maths and his figures and cited the Ordnance Survey map and come up with a figure that is drastically in excess of the measured height of that hill. Therefore, It's either Miles is lying or the Ordnance Survey map's wrong. Which one is it?
Now, just addressing Sly, I wouldn't normally address Sly because whatever, but he's in here and he's asking valid questions. Sly asks height above water, question mark, but you're nowhere near it. What water? Of course I'm nowhere near it during the day when I'm doing the measurement. Different day, different tide. But Miles's assertion is that the water is there, and he's claiming that at 40 feet above that height of water, we've measured it down to 20, it's 19.5 feet. We'll call it 20. 20 feet down to the rocks. That's where we measured it to. And he's telling me that the bit between them two is another 20 feet. Now, let's listen to what he actually says, right? I don't care whether you think I'm lying. These are Miles's own words in context, and they've not been cherry-picked. These are exactly the way he said it. So I'm going to show you his lie, his double down, his triple down, and then I'm going to ask you to make your own decision, right? Is this 40 feet above the water level or not? Based on what he says. Here we go. Right at the beginning.
Anthony has measured the height of that bank at 19.5 feet. I don't dispute the measurement that he got. I accept the measurement that he got, and I say that in this particular video clip.
Right, so he accepts 19.5, call it 20. He accepts that the first chunk of the thing is 20 feet. So he's now got to get another 20 feet out of his picture. So this is what I was trying to get Imric to do. He accepts that this bit, that from here, where his camera is, down to there is 20 feet. He accepts it. Okay. So the next contentious issue is, where does the 20 feet come from here? Right? How do we get to the other 20 feet to support the assertion of 40 feet? Because that's what Miles now has to do. He has to explain where 20 feet comes from in this bit. Okay.
I'm basing my claim on Ordnance Survey map data, and I listened to his claim that he's measured it at the bank to be 20 feet. And I say, well, that could be right. And if the sea level below the bank was another 15 feet.
If the sea level was another 15 feet, come on, Miles, 20 feet for the bank, 15 feet gives you 35. That's not giving us the 40 feet that you've claimed. Okay, you've claimed 40 feet, so I'm not saying it's 15 feet, Miles. You've got to prove it's 20. So stop diluting what you've got to do. Let's put it back to the 40 that you're claiming it is. You've got to find 20 feet. It's that simple.
Then his measurement of 20 feet agrees with mine.
No. It doesn't agree with yours because you're trying to dilute it down to 15 feet. You need 20 miles, and I don't agree with your maths because your maths has been fudged. I'm now going to show you where he's fudged it, and then double down and then triple down. Be ready because this gets really interesting. It is a little bit mathematical, and if you're not great on maths, just listen to what he does, and you don't even need to pay attention to the maths. We'll look at the net effect of what he's actually done.
The big question for me is, where is the lie, Anthony? What lie has been told here?
Right, here's the lie. Right. First thing, there's two things here. Where's the lie? I'll identify the lie, but I'll also respectfully, Miles, remind you, where was the lie with the Bibby Wave Master 1? Where was Ranty's intention to deceive anybody with the misidentification of a boat that was essentially irrelevant to the points that he was making? Where's the intention to deceive? Works both ways. There was no intention to deceive a Ranty. It was an innocent mistake. But guess what? There is evidence of deceit here. Here we go. This is his first video. This is the video in question when he made the assertion of 12 meters working out to be 40 feet. Listen to what he says.
And so we've got a viewer height of, I'm gonna say 12. I'm gonna err on the side of caution there a little bit.
That's right. So he's putting 12 in, but he claims he's erring on the side of caution. Okay, well, we're going to show there's no caution here whatsoever. It's wildly optimistic. In fact, it's fudged, but it gets worse.
Working on the basis of our viewer height of 12 meters above actual sea level at the time.
Above actual sea level at the time. Okay, so let's go back to his picture and say...
It's worth reminding people that when he made this claim, correct me if I'm wrong, he'd already been there and seen it measured with a 16-foot pole, correct?
Well, I think he got the footage from Al's. I don't know this for fact, so I may be wrong.
Okay.
But my understanding is that he got the footage from Al's camera. Al had already taken the footage, or he was taking it whilst he was there. But the measurement part of it was done just before he got there. But even if that's true, I believe that Al should have and probably would have said, Miles, it's nowhere near 40 feet. Because Al's got the 16-foot pole in his hand. There's no way that Miles is going to be able to get away with.
No. We can't prove knowledge of forethought, so I'll retract that. We don't know for certain that he knew the height of the hill. That could be incorrect. I'll just retract that. My bad.
Okay, you can retract it, but I'm going to call Al on it. I want to know what Al's position was. I want to know, did Al know that Miles was doing this as part of a joint collaboration with him? And if so, did he call him on it? Or did he work independently as a solo flight attendant? Because if he did, then that's down to and only down to Miles. I think Al knew about this, and I think he just let him do it, and he didn't call him out on it. How honest would that be if he knew about it? So did Al know about it or not? What's your position, Al? I have left a message on your picture of this, your video of this. It'd be great if you'd actually respond to it, Al. Anyway, so where were we? Flick back to this. Right, so he's claiming it's based on actual sea level, right? Let's just play that little bit again, because this is a really important bit.
Work basis of our viewer height of 12 meters above actual sea level at the time.
Right, so actual sea level at the time. That's part of the lie. He knows it's not above the actual sea level at the time because he's doing a calculation based on mean sea level. Now, that's not being based on the actual sea level at the time, is it? That's based on a calculation based on mean sea level, and it has to be that way because Miles is using Ordnance Survey. So he's trying to tell you on the one hand it's based on the actual sea level, but he knows it's not. It's based on nonsense to do with the Ordnance Survey map citing mean sea level. That's not based on actual sea level at the time. So that in itself is wrong, right? Gets worse, though. Watch this.
I don't think viewer height is going to make a huge difference here.
So he doesn't think viewer height makes a huge difference here, but now it's gone up to 14 meters. Before, it was on 12. Now it's on 14, and he doesn't think observer height makes a huge difference. Okay, so if we did the feetage on that to see why he's now put it up, I'm not going to do because his claim is 12, but he's put it up to 14, and he doesn't think it makes any difference. He doesn't think it makes a lot of difference.
Height is going to make a huge difference here. We're somewhere between 10 and 14, 15 meters above the actual sea level. And
Did you hear that? We're somewhere, but listen to the mumbling bit.
Between 10 and 14. We're somewhere between 10 and 14, 15 meters above.
Somewhere between 10, 14, 15 meters below.
Above the actual sea level.
Above the actual sea level, right? So 15 meters above the actual sea level.
Well, so
right?
so he's up to 45 feet now.
Above the actual sea level, he claims.
Did he say 15 meters?
Well, listen to what he says.
Yeah.
Hey guys, can I have a moment after this where I just do a little talk? You continue on, but I need a moment to address something.
Sure.
I just want to find out if he at any point said 15 meters, because if he did, he's now putting himself just shy of 50 feet in the air for something that Al K measured at 16. Just to point that out to the audience. He's now almost up to 50 feet.
So he does. He says 15. Listen.
Huge difference here. We're somewhere between 10 and 14, 15 meters above.
Somewhere between 10, 14, 15 meters above, but he says it very quietly so that no one hears it.
So, yeah, we're at 50 feet according to Miles. 50 feet.
So it's 15 meters, 50 feet
above the actual sea level, and I think
above the actual sea level. And what does he think?
Above the actual sea level, and I think 12 is a very reasonable estimate.
And he thinks 12 is a very reasonable estimate. Well, it's actually a calculation based on mean sea level. That's what you've actually done, right? And you think 12 is very reasonable, right? What do you think at that point, Nath? Do you think that's reasonable, or do you think that's something different? If you're not sure, I'll say. He must be away with his kid. So let's go back to it. He thinks that 12 meters or 40 feet is reasonable somewhere, and it's eyeing on the side of caution, right? Given that we've now measured this mound at 19.5 feet, call it 20 feet. So he thinks that there's 30 feet, another 30, up to 30 feet above the actual sea level. Now, anybody with half a brain can see that this hill, this mound, is bigger than the drop of the sea there for whatever value that is. Okay, that is not bigger than this. This is measured at 20. Miles thinks this is valid at 30. Now, even Sly Sparkane wouldn't argue that that's 30. Would you, Sly? So, here's the lie, or here's the doubling down.
I can also just share a screen to show you where the tide was when we were actually filming.
Bro.
This is a still taken on a different camera at the time that we were actually filming. You can see, I hope, that it is near to sunset here. I have a precise time for this photograph being taken, if you like, and you can see it is at the time we were filming, which was a few minutes after high tide. And I've got timestamps for the video timings that we took. As you can see, the water level is still down the pebbles on the beach and not up near to the grass bank or the rocks below the grass bank. This beach here, the pebbles on this beach slope quite steeply. It doesn't look like it could, by comparison with the bank, but there's still it's a relatively steeply sloped. There is a drop down there of several feet from the rocks down to the high water mark.
Now, this is the bit where the maths comes in, but you don't really need to pay any attention to the maths. We just need to look at what the net effect is. What is the effect after he's done his adjustment, which is essentially a calculation based from mean sea level. Okay, this is not from the actual water level. This is the mean sea level, and it's an adjustment based on a calculation, right? So forget about the mumbo jumbo, the arithmetic. It doesn't matter. What is the effect, right? But he explains it, and it sounds credible. But let's see what the actual effect is.
Basis of the tide heights and mean sea level, I have calculated that the high tide mark would have been about 1.76 meters below the 5 meter contour line on Ordnance Survey map. So we have 1.76 meters to add to the 10 meters that Ordnance Survey gives us from the 5 meter contour line to the 15 meter contour line. The 15 meter contour line runs pretty much right along the top of this bank here, just a little bit down the slope, but not very far. So we can ignore it, that and just say that the top of the slope where the step is here is a 50 meter contour line. And we have 10 meters plus 1.76 meters, which is 11.76 meters, plus the height that the camera was on the tripod. Well, we'll call it a meter, and we'll have 12.76 meters, which works out at just over 40 feet, which was my claim.
Right. Now, it was...
Anthony...
So basically 40 meters, which was his claim. Now, forget about all his maths. What he says is the contour line is the 15 meter point, which is basically here. And he basically, after all that mumbo jumbo maths, and now he's calculated it, right? And it's not even above me. It's not above actual sea level. It's calculated from mean sea level. He's dropped 3 meters from the 15 contour line, which is there. He's dropped it down to 12. But earlier on, remember his words when he was at this bit?
15 meters above the actual sea level, and I think 12 is a very reasonable estimate.
So we're somewhere between, how did he actually word it? Somewhere between 12?
Somewhere between 10 and 14, 15 meters above.
So we're somewhere between 10, 14, 15 above the actual sea level, he says. But actually, even if you go with the Ordnance Survey map at 15 meters above the water, above mean sea level, he's now when he did his video, he's claiming he's somewhere between 10, 12, 15 meters above the actual sea level. No, Ordnance Survey is only putting you at 15 meters above mean sea level, not actual sea level. Now, the question then becomes: is this lie? Is he misrepresenting? Is he lying? I mean, Miles knows mean sea level is different to actual sea level. I'm not putting that down to a mistake. And even if it was a mistake, you're starting at 15 meters. But by your own video on the Ordnance Survey, you're putting it 15 meters. But by your own calculation for your observer height, listen to what he says again.
We're somewhere between 10 and 14, 15 meters above the actual sea level. And I think 12 is a very reasonable estimate.
No, Miles. You're not somewhere between 12 meters above the actual sea level. You're nowhere near it. Even if you did put Ordnance Survey in at 15 meters or 12 or whatever nonsense figure you want to put in, that's above average sea level. And after you've done your maths, the net effect of your maths is that you've, on your claim, your original claim, somewhere between 12 and 14 or 15. There were your words. No. It's the height above sea level when you put your curve calcs in. It's not your height above mean sea level with an adjustment. It's supposed to be your measurement above sea level, and that's it. But you're claiming and putting yourself in a ridiculous thing, and we've measured it at 20, and you've accepted it's 20. These are his words. We accept that he's done it at 20.
Anthony has measured the height of that bank at 19.5 feet. I don't dispute the measurement that he got. I accept the measurement that he got, and I say that in this particular video.
So he accepts that it's 20 feet for the embankment. So then we're only left with, well, what's the value for this drop? Now, Miles is wildly off with 15 meters, somewhere between 10, 12, 14, 15 meters above actual water level. Well, he's accepted that this is only 20. So what's the value to this little bit down here? Come on, Sly. I'm going to ask Sly in chat. What value, given that he accepts that the hill that he's on is 20, Sly, just estimate roughly, what value would Sly Sparkane attribute to this, given that he hasn't measured it, but he's calculated it based on mean sea level or whatever? But looking at it, Sly, what would you put for this? Sly Sparkane says, why did you not measure to the water or film Isle of Man from there? Why did you not measure to the water? A different point, Sly. Just specifically, Sly, in this video, Miles accepts that the measured height of the mound that he's on is 20 feet. What value do you think is a reasonable figure to put to the bit below, Sly? Oh, and look at Paul Voigt. This is so boring. Yeah, it's so boring, Paul, because you're cornered. Your ballers are lying, and you guys don't like it, so you're trying to bore it off. Well, it's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. And don't forget, at 40 feet, Sly's putting himself at higher than where I've said at 35 feet above here. So one of us is lying, and he accepts this is only 20 feet. Come on, Sly. Can you please answer? What do you think, Sly, based on what you can see, and this is the only evidence that we've got, Sly, what do you think is a reasonable value for the drop below where the rocks are, which Miles accepts is 20 feet from the lens down to the rocks? What would you say is a reasonable figure, Sly? Come on. No, Sly, forget being on the hill in the first place. Sly Sparkane, I'm waiting for you to answer. What do you think is a fair value, given that Miles accepts that from the rocks to the lens of the camera is 20 feet? He accepts it. What's a fair value to put for the bottom figure? Come on, Sly. Just waiting for Sly to respond. Probably going to go quiet on us now. Miles the Liar Davis. You spelled Davis wrong. It's not got an E on it. It's Davis, not Davies. "23. Tony Vincento says 23. You think that's 23 feet?
So Tony thinks that the shore, obviously less steep than the hill that's been measured, is more than the actual hill that's been measured. Hi, Jazzaconda, how are you doing? Say hello.
Right, so obviously right now,
hey,
at this point, I'm gonna have to get paint up because Tony Vincenzo obviously can't calculate size. He isn't very good at estimating, right? But Sly, come on, where's Sly? Has he responded? No, Sly Sparkane, I have no measurement to give. I'm not asking you for a measurement, Sly. I'm just asking you, what do you think is a fair value to attribute the drop from the rocks down to where the water level is?
I'll ask a different question. Is the height from where the mouse pointer is now at the bottom of the hill? I'll do it with my mouse. So is this here higher in elevation? Is there a bigger drop from here to here than here? Oh, you moved.
Sorry.
I'll do it once more. So is this drop from here to here bigger than or smaller than the drop from here to here? That's the question. Is this a bigger drop? Because according to Tony, this is a bigger drop. This is a more severe drop. You'd definitely hurt yourself falling down this drop, but this drop here is less, so you'd be okay on this drop here. That's according to Tony, and according to Miles Elia Davis.
So there is a triangle for. I mean, I don't know how best to do this. This may not be done perfectly, so forgive me if I don't get this perfect straight like immediately.
I don't think you need to. I think this is surplus to requirements. The bottom line is the slope down that hill is most definitely much, much higher than the slope down the shore. Anybody who wants to claim otherwise is either retarded or lying.
Now, is that massively crazy, Nath? Or would you say that's a reasonable representation of what we're looking at?
No, I hate all of these types of representations, and you know full well I do. So you're asking me so that I can tell you no, right?
No, I'm asking because
definitely not. This is about as valid as scaling up caravans. You know, if I'm going to be fussy about you actually running a tape measure down and how that's done, how do you think I'm going to react to this? Be honest.
All right, so in that case then, oh balls, I'll get rid of that. In that case then, I'm going to have to leave this because Sly's refusing to answer the question. Maybe Paul Voigt would answer us something. Because Tony Vincenzo, how do you spell his name? Vincento, is that right? Claims this is, what did he put it at? What was the value he gave?
It's VICEN.
Vincento. Yeah, Tony
CIO.
Vincenzo, there it is.
CIO. VIN.
So
VIC. Get his name spelled right at the very least. VICENCIO.
VICENCIO.
Correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Right. So what was the claim that he said? 23. Right. So Tony Vincenzo claims
23 feet for the shore. We know it's 20 feet for the hill. It's been measured by two different people. Been agreed to by the person making the claim on this video. Rewind if you want to hear Miles concede that it's 20 feet. If you want to go to Al's video to see him measure it with a 16-foot pole, feel free. Or again, rewind this video if you want to see it measured by Anthony and Ranty at 19 feet. Feel free to check all three. But the bottom line is that hill is 20 feet. So Tony claims that the shore below the hill is 23 feet. Thanks for that, Tony. Good to get you on screen.
Now let's just hear his words again.
Anthony has measured the height of that bank at 19.5 feet. I don't dispute the measurement that he got. I accept the measurement that he got, and I say that in this particular video clip. I'm basing my claim on Ordnance Survey map data, and I listened to his claim that he's measured it at the bank to be 20 feet, and I say, well, that could be right. And if the sea level below the bank... Hi,
Starstorm. How you doing? Can you hear us? You say hello? Hello, Starstorm? You need to be quicker. You need to say hello.
Let's just hear what he said, the last bit.
And if the sea level below the bank was another 15 feet.
So if the sea level was another 15 feet below, then what does that mean according to Miles?
35, according to Miles now. So he's gone from 42, just a shade under, I think it was 41.83 feet. It's gone from that, which he claims to be just over 40, but it's actually closer to 42. He's now dropped to 35, just in this single concession.
So Miles asks in chat, Miles says, where did I see that? Where did I see his message? Then I've just scrolled and missed it. Where's it gone? No way. I've just seen a message from Miles. There it is. Is Riley still claiming that OS maps lie? No, Miles, I'm claiming that you're lying. And on this occasion, you've got Tony Vincenzo, who also thinks that the drop down to the water is greater than the drop of the cliff. And Miles accepts that the cliff's 20 feet. To the lens of the camera, not the actual cliff itself, to the lens of the camera is 20 feet. He accepts it. Tony thinks that it's 23 feet for the bit down to the water. I've asked Sly Sparkane to give an answer. Have you seen one from Sly, Nathan?
No, I haven't.
So, Sly, I have no measurements to give. The hill is the point. Quit dodging that. and you wouldn't accept my numbers, any numbers but your own. Mean sea level is the base on all elevations. So Sly's not given an answer.
Sorry, no, that is an answer, and I'd like to just read that out again, please.
Actually, let me read his other ones. He said, I did answer. Scroll up and answer me. Why do you need to be on the hill in the first place? Forget the hill in the first place. This isn't my claim. This is Miles's claim.
Yeah,
He
sorry,
said,
I'll address that slight. Maybe you need to get in touch with Miles, the liar Davis, and point out that why is he on this hill at all? He should have his tripod in the shore, in the sea, just like Jesse Kozowski. So, Sly, you've got a couple of people that you need to get onto. Miles Davis and Jesse Kozowski. Chop, chop.
Sly says that I have no measurement to give. The hill wouldn't accept any numbers but your own. Is that your answer, Sly? I asked you specifically, Sly, what value would you estimate, not measure, estimate, for the drop down to the sea? Okay, that's what the question is. Now, this bit is 20 feet. Miles accepts it. So we need to get 20 feet down to the water, and because Sly's such a worm, I'm putting you on the spot. You're lying. You lot are all lying. You're all supporting each other's egos by lying to cover each other.
I just want the other bit of his comment. So he said something about that all measurements would go down to mean sea level. And correct me if I'm wrong, Google quotes their measurements that you quoted to mean sea level. Is that correct?
That is correct. He did say it was down to what his words was mean sea level is the base on all elevations. And yes, the second part of your question was Google Earth does the observation down to mean sea level. I'd like to just prove that point. Just bear with me. Hold that thought, because I'd like to just show people why. Because just bear with me. This is it. This is actually quite an important point, because zoom into this. This is where Miles, the liar Davis, was stood. Oops. I need to make that bigger so that you can see it and get rid of that bit. Don't need that. Miles has stood here, and on Google Earth it says 30 feet. Where Miles has stood here is 29 feet, okay? 29 feet is the value above mean sea level. Now, we worked it out and calculated that from the actual, wherever the water was, we think he was around about 24. Now, we gave him loads of leeway and put it up to 29 feet. So just to give him loads of leeway, it was arbitrary, I agree, and we shouldn't have done it. We should have given him the 24 we calculated it to, because he actually criticised us for giving him an extra bit of height to try and help him. We did that, Miles, to try and help you with your lie, to see how credible your lie was. But Google Earth says this is 30 feet. Miles accepts that the hill itself is only 20, so we're left with another 20 feet to get this down to the water level. So yes, the answer to your question is Google Earth does put it down to mean sea level 2. And Ordnance Survey Map puts it down to mean sea level 2. So there is a massive difference between the two values. So which one's right? I don't know. And I know that you don't know. And nobody else in chat knows. So the only thing you can do is go measure it. And that's what we've done. So the only bit that we've got to do here is this little bit down here. So come on, Sly, give us a number. Give us an estimation, Sly. Because Tony Vincenzo claims it's 23 feet. Let's put one in for Sly. Do it in yellow. Sly claims. No, we'll put estimates. Estimates. So come on, Sly. What number should we put in for you, please? Give us a number, and then we'll do one for Paul Voigt as well. Sly, where is Sly?
But the bottom line is we've had an estimate. The whole point of this is Sly. It doesn't really matter what he guesses, more or less. Who cares? We've had an assertion made after it's been measured recently, and it's still claimed to be, based on Ordnance Survey, at 40 feet. He's gone and looked at this. You know, the guy's not stupid. So let's keep on track in terms of who's asserted this. You're trying to attribute this to all these guys now, which is a bit unfair. I mean, then again, they are in a published chat, so if they're putting out any claims, feel free to stick them in.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to get them to pin them down. Let's. I mean, come on, Miles can't do it. Miles thinks that this is 20 feet down to the water. So in the absence of Miles, because he seems to be, he was in chat a minute ago, and I don't see him. So let's see what other ball earthers, prominent ball earthers as well. Sly's quite a popular kind of guy. Sly, I'm looking at an image on a phone. Answer, why do you need to be on the hill to see? Right, stop. Perfect distraction there, Sly. Let's bring this up and show it. Sly Sparkane, I'm looking at an image on my phone. Answer why you need to be on the hill to see Isle of Man. No, Sly. The question that's posed right now is, what would you estimate this drop to be down to the sea? And if Sly refuses to give an answer, then that's because you don't want to chuck your own man under the bus. That's literally what it is. Tony Vincenzo reckons it's 23 feet.
I'm going to ask the
greater
rest of the
than-
chat. Let's open it up to the entire chat, and there's probably people watching. Let's have a little look. There's 82 people watching right this second, so there's going to be people who are not participants in the chat. Technically speaking, they're just watchers. However, if they have access, I'd like everyone in the chat to tell us in feet how much this distance is. I'm going to wave my mouse over it. So from the rocks to the shore, how much do people think it's dropping in elevation in feet? How big is this drop? We'll tell you one thing we do know. This drop is 20 feet. Well, from the camera, technically, yes. So this drop is 20 feet. How much do people think this drop is?
So
The
Vale,
actual
Ohio
shore.
claims 20 feet as well. So this is really good, this, because it shows how incapable ballers are, A, to be honest.
Dale,
and B,
Ohio. Let's get some down. Dale, Ohio thinks it's 20 feet from the shore. He thinks it's the same drop as the height of the hill.
yeah, he thinks that's equal to the hill. Let's see what else.
Yeah, that's what he says.
Alan B. What do you think, Alan B?
Agent Detective, you're going to scribble some of these down. Let's get some estimates down.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
8 foot, Sean Pierce.
There we go.
10
Sly
foot,
Spark
Agent
A.
Detective.
Steve Anthony says 10 feet.
10 feet, Steve Anthony. Thank you very much to all the people giving estimates. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Joper. I have Riley's own footage to show that the beach drop is about 20 feet. So, is that a claim of 20 feet by Paul Voigt? Seems to be a claim of 20 feet by Paul Voigt. I'm going to go on a limb and call that a 20 feet claim by Paul Voigt.
Are you not misrepresenting him? Is it not basing it on my?
Well, we've asked a simple question. If he's retarded and can't understand the question that everybody else is answering in chat, then he's a retard. If he's put a qualifier before his answer to a different question, then he's an idiot. But we've asked a very simple question.
I don't wanna,
How high is this bit, Paul Voigt? How high is that? I'm going to say you've said 20 feet. If you're not saying 20 feet, clearly you're either deaf or don't understand the question, because everyone else seems to have put a value. Got Al K. Says the hill is not 20 feet. Love it, Al. Don't seem to have your ears open. We want to know what this value is, Al. What value do you estimate this value is?
Actually,
Brian, open your ears.
Should I get the snip where Al calculates that it is 20 feet and play it so that he can just be literally... In fact, what I'm going to do there, just hold that thought, right? Snipping tool. Where's Al K's comment? Have I just missed it? I've missed it, right? So let's get rid of that for a minute. Let's go back up a little bit.
When can I have my 5 minutes? Been waiting
just when we get a couple more values, just be patient. This is a cool point. This just bear with us a sec.
We're proving that these guys are liars, Arwin. So I mean, you're welcome to whenever you like. Do you want to do it now?
No, hang on. This is the moment we're killing them. Just hang fire, Nate. We've got a whole hour and a half left.
Really?
Don't worry.
Right, I've got about an hour.
Okay.
Where's...
Well, you guys have spent now a month on this. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours.
Yep.
Proving this detail about how they're lying, which is kind of obvious to anyone who really still cares at this point. And I'm getting the feeling that the ballers have won. Because this is no longer flat earth debates now. It's measuring the hill. We're rolling this ball up the hill, and every time spend hours trying to prove this, and they just give it a little kick and it's down the hill again, and then you're rolling this ball back up the hill. Literally, it's this hill. The show is about this hill now. And what are you trying to accomplish with this? Are you trying to prove they're liars? Do you think that's going to make that?
Give them bloody hell, Nathan. I love Flat Earth Debate. Thank you, Dank. Thanks for the $10.
They will continue on. Look, if you're actually envisioning something you can accomplish with this, like making an official, how do you say, like discrediting them to the official science community, getting them fired from their teaching job, something like that, then maybe I would understand why you spent hundreds of hours of this debate on this specific one subject, and I don't even hear the word flat earth mentioned anymore. It's all about just this freaking detail, and they will keep coming back. You will know they will keep denying it no matter what you do.
Sure.
They're winning. they're winning
Okay,
because
Armin, that's
the
fair enough.
debate's
But
no
could you at
longer
least,
about flat Earth.
could you give us
It's
a chance
just
to
about
address
this
that?
damn hill. If
Okay.
you want a
Maybe not.
definitive proof of what this entire measured thing is, why don't you call a professional and ask him, hey, can you please, as an official person that does this, measure this hill and be done
Arwin,
with it?
Can I just say, Arwin, right now you are literally derailing the point we're making.
I just don't get why you're spending all this time on this one thing.
Because
I
we're
wonder if you
discrediting
even
a
know
baller
what you
that
could
lied.
accomplish with this.
Well, there's two reasons, Arwin. Right, the first is that there's been an assertion made by the opposite side that the Earth is a sphere based on an observation of some wind turbines, and he has lied about his height. So we're pointing out that to manipulate the data, something that they have very squarely put at the feet of Anthony throughout these debates, on exactly the same point, the height of his observation, we're pointing out that they have done exactly that. There's no evidence of Anthony doing it. All he's ever done, and he keeps saying it, is I've taken the value from Google. Sly Spark A even backs him up and says that it's to mean sea level, which is all that matters. So he's not done anything wrong in taking those values, but they've tried to discredit him based on the height of the hill. No one presented any data, just ordnance survey maps. Now somebody has gone and measured the hill. That's obviously not satisfactory to you. You want a professional. You want us to go and hire a professional to debunk somebody that's claiming it's
me, really,
Arwin,
it's
why are
just...
you interrupting me? Right, so you're telling us to go and get a professional. We've measured it. We've done a good job of it. Now we're debunking his assertion that the Earth is a sphere based on these wind turbines with him at 40 feet elevation. We're debunking that. Simultaneously, it shows that if the height of that hill at high tide is about 23 feet, that Google Earth is there or thereabouts in terms of its estimations of these hills. It's not wildly inaccurate, which disproves their assertion, so it is incredibly useful to the debate. Thirdly, the height of the actual observation above water is the most important detail if we are going to assert that we're on a flat plane. None of this taking arc measurements from the horizon, which arguably could discount the tide, in my opinion. Whether or not I can prove that will yet to be seen. But ultimately speaking, we are taking flat measurements above something that's rising and falling. Therefore, it's critical to get the actual height above water. And the only way we can get that is by first measuring the height to the bottom point and then measuring the height to the water. It's going to be impossible to take a hypotenuse measurement from the top of that hill 300 metres to the sea at low tide to get it accurate. But what we can do is start by measuring some of these hills and getting a really good idea of how high they really are, so that when we present our model and start sharpening it up and getting it more accurate with real world data rather than averages and ordnance surveys or Google, we can say we've measured it. Here's our measurement. Yes, it might improve again when a professional surveyor takes interest, because we have a flat earth proof based on these debates. And these debates hinge around the observer height quoted on Google and Ordnance Survey. We have never made any assertions in terms of height. We've said the value on Google is. They have. They have said my height is, and then taken an extrapolation from an Ordnance Survey map, even though there's been a measurement taken. So we have to disprove their credibility in the same way they have tried to disprove Anthony's credibility, and we're using their tool, the exact same methodology. They've tried to discredit Anthony based on the height of the hill. He has continually said it's just a value given on Google. Simple, we're testing the model. That's it. So they're saying, no, we've gone back and we've extrapolated this height.
Months now that you are correct, that they're lying. But still, you're spending these hours and hours a day on doing this same thing, recycling it all.
Listen, Arwin.
Do you think they're going to stop claiming that it's lies? That they're going to stop claiming that you're wrong?
No,
they're going to continue this. We're going to be talking about this in March.
Maybe.
About the exact same thing. And where's the flat Earth really coming into this?
Sorry, I just explained that to you, Arwin. We are taking an observation of a lighthouse that is 31 miles away.
I was there. I know.
Right, so we are now establishing the height above the deck. That's what we're doing. We're also being assisted in that measurement by the people on our opposing side. So this is extremely useful. The fact that these guys have gone out and done this, I've thanked them for it. These are not keyboard warriors. These are people who take the assertions that the Earth is flat extremely seriously, Arwin. And we are debunking them. If you don't like that, tough. If you want us to go
Yeah.
and get professionals to debunk them by taking a geodetic survey of this particular part of the land, tough. We don't have the money to do that. We're just debunking an assertion that says the Earth is a sphere based on how much a wind turbine is cut off at 40 feet in the air. 42 feet, just under. Well, it's not 42 feet. It's more like 23 feet. And he's based his assertions on Ordnance Survey extrapolations. We are debunking that concisely. That's what we are doing.
And given that you've derailed the whole point, we'll come back to you at the end of it. But right now, Arwin, this stops. We'll come back to you in a minute because I want to show the lies that are going on here. This is about discrediting them with their own evidence. So just be patient, Arwin. We'll come back to you in a short while, okay? You can have your minute in a sec.
I promise you'll get to speak, Arwin. I will give you 10 minutes minimum to do a presentation if that's what you want. We've got approximately 1 hour left on this live stream. So we'll do just a very quick link just because we've got literally an hour left. So if you're new to the channel or you've not subscribed already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate, which I hope you're enjoying thus far between us and the chat feed, and indeed between us and Arwin, which is so often the case in Flat Earth. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. Massive thanks to Dank for the $10 in the super chat from this feed, or there is a link in the info box once the video is rendered, so hit that if you're watching on the re-upload. But most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth, simply click the link in the info box to join the panel. If you do join the panel, please don't swear or I will eject you. If you are ejected, please don't try to rejoin this stream. You will be warmly welcome back on the next stream. As I say, there is approximately 1 hour left on this live stream. If you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. I've both derailed you both now, so my bad.
That's okay. All I'm going to do now is address this one point by Al K. Then I'll go and make myself a coffee and I'll pass the mic to Arwin, and he can speak as much as he wants. But right now I'm going to finish this point, Arwin. So just bear with me a sec. Al K claims that the hill is not 20 feet. Now, what's his name? Miles the Liar Davis has already conceded that he accepts it is. So here's Miles accepting that it is.
Anthony has measured the height of that bank at 19.5 feet. I don't dispute the measurement that he got. I accept the measurement that he got, and I say that in this particular video clip.
So Miles the Liar Davis accepts it, and I'm now going to cite your own words, Al K, because you also calculated it to be 20 feet. Listen to his words. Oh, he's dead quiet, so you're going to have to listen carefully.
Above the level of the stick here, and I'm a bit just over halfway up. I tried to stop and take a short lift, but there's too much gravel and it was kind of steep, so I started sliding down the hill, so I ended up just walking up. But it was just to kind of point out that before I've even reached the top of this, I was above the level of it, and then I walk up to the top, but then obviously I just went up to the top and looked down. So let me just put that on.
It's coming up now.
Oops, that's the wrong one.
Try not to talk, Anthony. I've got it turned way up.
So I went back up to the steps, which you obviously recognised from a minute ago. This time, standing with the stick down there, now you can see what I'm talking about. I'm having to look down at a fair angle still to look down at the top of this. And as I say, that's 16.5 feet. So this should give you the idea that you're talking about, if you were just taking a rough guess at the height, just standing at the step here, you're going to have to say to yourself, well, minimum 20 feet, probably 20 something feet, Turn
me back down.
There we go. Yeah, I've turned you down. Just leave it on screen a second. Sorry, I'm going to ask a few more times, just because we've got a very useful screen. Can you just expand this, please? I'm going to ask the chat again. Why not? It is a different angle. So here's the hill that Al has literally just said is 20 feet. He's looking down on this person, and you can see this angle. And the shore is whereabouts? Whereabouts, Anthony? Would you put the shoreline from Miles' picture? Just roughly replicate where that shoreline is from that picture in that picture.
Well, there's a rock there, isn't there? That rock there appears to be that rock, possibly.
Okay.
Or maybe it might, it might be that one actually. I think
But
it's
either
that
way,
one there.
so if we give him a benefit of the doubt and say the edge of the pebbles, say the edge of the pebbles. Why not?
It's somewhere in this ballpark figure.
Sure.
So
Okay, so I'm going to say
it's
roughly
somewhere
here.
between here.
Okay, so for the audience, where we're taking this picture from, here's the hill that runs down. That's 20 feet measured. I want to see a few more estimates for this. Sorry, I'm got to stop laughing while I do this. I want to know how high this bit is. Do you think that's also 23 feet, Tony
So
Vincento?
come on, Seeds of Doubt. Let's ask you, what value does Seeds of Doubt think that, given that Miles has already accepted that it was 20 feet, and also that Al claims now that the hill is not 20 feet after reading his words back to you from his own mouth, claiming that they were 20 feet, what value does Seeds of Doubt think that we should genuinely give this part? Come on, Seeds of Doubt, what value would you give it? Just give us a figure. This is 20 feet. So let's just read some of the claims. So we've got Steve Anthony says 10 feet. I said 6 feet. Dale Ohio says 20 feet. Paul Voigt hasn't given an answer. Sly definitely won't. He's definitely not going to throw his partner under the bus. Tony Vincenzo says 23 feet. Nick's got no L. Miles thinks. So what do you? Come on, Nathan. Let's put Nathan into this. What does Nathan Oakley think?
Oh, you want my estimate?
Yeah, what would you put?
I'll put it at 2 or 3 feet. Maybe 4 at the most.
I've said 6. And I'm going to stand by 6. Oh, I'm going to stand by 6 because...
Stick
all
mine
right,
on
tell you
there,
what,
because I
Arvin,
don't mind being proven wrong if it ends up being 20 feet. Yeah, stick me in there.
Equals...
4
I'm putting
feet.
6 feet.
I'm going to say 4.
Nate, what do you think?
4.
4. Arwin, have you got a view?
Yeah.
What do you
Go.
think?
Go on, Arwen, then we'll hand over to you.
What I think about the height?
Yeah,
Yeah.
how high do you think the shore is? From the pebbles to the water, how high do you estimate that is? How big a drop?
I don't know. I haven't been there.
It's on screen
it's
now.
not
Just
2D
a guess.
photograph. I really can't tell. I would trust you guys that you would measure it honestly. So
It's not
I
been.
don't
That's the
know.
point. We're going to this weekend, hopefully, if it's weather permitting and tape measure doesn't snap or anything stupid like that. We're going to measure the shore. So we're going to get an idea this weekend of exactly how high this drop is. But just for estimate's sake, how high do you estimate from the pebbles or the bottom of the hill to the water in drop? Just have a wild guess.
wait. Well, if I would compare it, how high did you say it was up the hill, up until the pebbles?
So from the top of the hill down the green bit is 20 feet.
20 feet. Okay.
No,
Well,
that's 20 feet to the
Until
lens.
the water line, as it is visible right there, I would say it would be between 5 and 7 feet.
So we'll say, can we go with...
We go 6.
Let's go with 7. Err on the side of caution in favour of Miles. Is that okay?
But I'm not even sure where the water line is really currently in the high or
Well,
low tide. I don't
here's
know.
the thing,
It
though.
doesn't matter where it is in terms of high or low. It just means in this picture, this is what he's claimed is his observation when it was taken. This is where the tide was, according to him. And this height, you can't see my mouse, I'm really sorry, but this height of the green bit and the pebbles is 20 feet. This bit of the shore beyond the pebbles, when it gets, smoother, although it's still pebbly, that bit is what we want you to guess. And you're saying about 7 feet drop, which is fair enough. We've put it up 5 to 7, perfect.
I'd say it's about a 10 degrees angle. Roughly.
Fair enough. We've got 5 to 7, that's good enough. Did you want
Right,
to
we're up
present
to
something,
5 to
Carwin?
7.
Did you want to present
Now,
something?
Hang on, just
No,
one last
not
thing,
really.
and I'll do it, right? Nathan, would you
I
agree
just
that
wanted
this
to
rock
make
down here...
a meta point, really.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hang on,
Oh,
just 1 second, then I'll go make me
it-
through. One sec, Arwin, 1 sec. Nath, would you agree this big rock will still be there at the weekend? That probably isn't going to be moved.
No, I think that'll still be there.
And that big rock is either that one or that one. That looks like a paper bag. Or maybe it is a rock, I don't know. But that'll probably still be there.
The fence will
So
be
if we-
there. That's a landmark, but it's not in the picture. So we'll figure it out. But at the moment we're literally we're talking over Arwin. I want him to have his time,
Sorry,
please.
yeah, go on, Arwin. I'll concede. I'll give way to you now. You've got the mic for as long as you want it, dude.
Okay, well, my point is that spending all these hours on this specific hill, basically rolling that ball back up the hill. The Globers are just denying everything, and with one little tap, they're rolling it downhill, and then you're spending all these hours rolling the ball back up the hill. Time and over again. Don't you understand that their only objective, the only objective they have, is to waste our time? They know they can't win. They don't care they can't win. All they want to do is troll us and waste our time. Because
But on this occasion, though,
they're never gonna admit wrong even, or they're lying. You have already proven so many times before with other issues that they were wrong, that they were lying, yet they keep coming back every time. You think that's gonna stop that process? You think that in a month's time, when you're moving the subject over to some other detail, that they're gonna concede in that? They never do.
No, I don't
They
think so.
never have.
But that's shown more and more and more with these debates. I mean, I hope you're right.
Yeah,
I'd
you're
love this to be a
proving that they're
consistent show.
lying. Yeah, but where is it going? What are you really accomplishing? You think that people, outsiders that are watching this, do they really care about these details? Do you think that in their mind they're really weighing, oh, this is going to really matter to if it's flat or round? Don't you think they've already made up their minds
Maybe.
way before this?
Maybe, maybe not.
I'm
The point
just
for
saying
us,
that
though, Arwen, is to establish the fact.
there would be so much more interesting stuff out there that could more directly prove flat Earth.
sure.
Maybe, but this is what we got. You work with what you've got. I mean, this is something that Anthony's been talking to me about, because we're going back there this weekend, and he's saying, let's measure this, let's measure that, and I'm saying, well, we've got certain measurements already. Yeah, I've criticised them and said they're rough around the edges, but we've got them. They're in the bag. They might get better. They might have somebody with surveying equipment take them eventually. But let's try and get more measurements, different measurements in the bag, before we
That's good.
try and polish up the ones we've got. And yeah, it might seem tedious, Arwen, but
Might.
I'm glad you're saying this, because this is the opinion of a
It
lot
is
of the people
frustrating
on our...
to me, extremely frustrating,
Sure.
because about listening to the nitty gritty survey channel now. It's
Isn't that what figuring out
I'm
the shape of
amazed
the Earth
that
is
you
all
guys
about, though,
even have the
Arwen?
patience for this. And I must say that you have definitely over this time improved the way you utilize language. It has become very exact, very detailed, very scientific in a way. Like the way Riley speaks now is a complete night and day compared to half a year ago. So my respects for that. But it is tiresome. It is so tiresome. And I really want to move on, really, but that's just me.
I'm glad you've said it. I'm glad you've said it, Arwen, because your opinion is echoed by many people, mostly on the opposite side of the argument. Shout out to Dank for giving me a super chat and congratulating me on giving them hell, by the way. But the point is that we are in a position to, A, disprove their lies and show that they are misrepresenting the data to support their case, and at the same time get stronger data. So we could just move on. I think that's what they want. They want us to just drop it. And the bottom line is, I'm not going to. I'm going to continually drive the point home with the Isle of Man, and the observations will improve. Now, if people go, this is just turned into the Isle of Man channel, it's like, or the surveying channel, as you phrased it. I won't misrepresent what you said. So it's now the surveying the hill channel. Well, yeah, for the moment, that is the show.
Pushing the ball up the hill. Really?
Well,
That's
no, we're
what it's
measuring the hill,
become.
Arwen. It's not a metaphor. We are literally measuring it. So we're measuring the hill to give us a better idea of our reality. How does the world really work? That's what we're going towards. And it will get tedious. You know, there's 100-odd people watching the show right
Well, it
now.
already
And they might
is,
be agreeing
really.
with you full-heartedly and saying, God, I'm sick of the Isle of Man. Well, tough. Getting flat
But this
Earth
is not
proof-
even the Isle of Man anymore. It's just this freaking hill now.
Yeah, looking at the Isle of Man.
Well, I don't see the Isle of Man. I'm just looking at this picture of this hill. That's it now. That's all it's become.
Sure. I mean, I agree.
wonder
This show is going to
if
be
you
about
could
this
even
hill.
narrow it down.
Every time we
more.
assert that they're lying, Arwen, every time we assert that they're lying, they double down on the lie and say, no, we're
Yeah.
not lying. It is 40 feet. And now
Do you
you've seen it in
expect
this
that to stop at some point? That's what I ask. I don't think they're ever going to stop. They're just going to keep on going, doubling
Good.
down.
good.
It's
So long
like
as
an
they keep
inflation.
lying.
It's like a bubble. They're just going to keep on pumping it up forever.
So do you want the end? Is that what you
Forever.
want, Arwin? Do you want them to concede that they've been defeated, and then what? What happens next? The
No,
show
they're
ends?
never going to concede. They're
Right,
never
so what's your
going
point?
to
If your point is
stop.
that they're never going to concede, should we just let them double down on their lie and have everyone understand that, oh, no, he's just reasserted his position, therefore what Anthony has asserted is wrong? Or should he actually clarify it? Because you're saying, I'll just give up. They're never going to actually concede that they've lied. Well, no,
but
you're right.
I think you already well detailed proven it. You already proven it, but it's like you're waiting for them to admit that you're correct, and they never will.
Not at
Like
all.
every sensible person out there that is actually neutral in the argument, they will definitely tell you, yeah, you're correct. But they never will.
We're not
They
trying to
never
achieve
will.
that. What we're trying to achieve is pointing out to the audience that after pointing out that somebody has lied and misrepresented their argument, coincidentally, not coincidentally at all, but coincidentally in exactly the same way that they have accused Anthony of misrepresenting his data, this was literally the reason why Steve McRae said the entire observation was invalid based on this detail, Arwin. Total horseshit, Mr. Consensus Reality, but that's what he said, based on this single point. So
That's
if you
weird.
think it's unimportant, some people might come along to the evidence hereafter if we round it out and present our model. They might come back to it and go, well, according to Steve McRae, because Google doesn't give very accurate data, the entire observation is bunk. That's what they might come to unless we tackle this issue. And we're tackling it in a very different way. We're not saying Anthony's right. We're saying, look, this is how your side of the argument, someone who was on that debate, arguing for your side, represents the data that he has got for his observation that confirms it's a globe. We haven't presented any figures. We're not plugging in our numbers into the calculator. We're using Google's data. That's the only ever claim. And we've got to make this point absolutely clear. If at the end of each show I end up rounding out by saying the bottom line is, folks, there's a lot of stuff on that island, including Morgold Lighthouse and all the land on the right and most of the land on the left, that you shouldn't see on a sphere. It's a geometric impossibility. That's why they spent an hour and 10 on Steve's show completely obfuscating the point. Because no matter what they do, they have to invoke bendy light refraction and convince the audience they're looking at holograms. Because seeing this stuff is impossible. And we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of what we should see. Because when we take these measurements, it's not just to debunk Miles, the liar Davis. It's actually to get our data sharper. And yeah, if that's tedious in the meantime, it's a daily show. Some of them are boring. Some of them have Tim Osman on, and there's a blazing row that ensues. You know, that's exciting. But I'm more interested in the end real-world data. Who cares what Ordnance Survey says? Who cares what Google says? Eventually we'll be cutting them both loose. Once we've got measurements at the island and measurements at St. Bees, we'll cut them loose completely and say, yeah, here's what it is based on measurements. We might get it even better with better equipment, but here's what we're saying it is. We've never done that, ever. Miles has. He's done his calculations and told the audience where he's at based on his estimations and calculations. Anthony's not done that. He did it on the debate with Steve. You're saying your elevation is this, that and the other, says the weird guy that was on there. And that weird guy then had Anthony take him to the actual point and show that in the bottom right hand corner, Google attributes a value of 29 feet, or 34 feet, or 52 feet. It's not his claim, it's a model that's being tested. That's the assertion. Their attempt to discredit Anthony based on that assertion is now what we are doing to Miles, because he absolutely categorically has made an assertion about his height in the face of better data, just to make his case that the Earth is a globe a little bit stronger.
But the other thing, Alan,
I give in. You are correct, and this is not sarcasm. I just don't understand where you get the patience for this, really. I really don't get it. I have a few tips, though, for future endeavors, and that is, it would be wise to at least consult an independent surveyor just to learn exactly how to measure this type of height, and not tell them that it's about flat Earth or the globe, and just ask him in detail how would he do it. I don't think you would have to actually pay for getting this type of advice. And maybe maybe it wouldn't even be that expensive to get an official surveyor to just do a little side job and do it, and then film him as he's doing it, as it were, just to absolutely prove without a doubt that a professional surveyor is doing it and is drawing a conclusion on camera. And another thing is, and this is probably even more important, the whole thing is that the Globers are constantly getting back to the weird, it's all a mirage, that we're seeing like it's flat because of a mirage, because of non-standard refraction. I think to really break that argument forever is to get into the science of optics, literally, to get optical scientists and to basically prove that that is not how optics work. Prove with physical visual experiments, not on the Earth, but in miniaturized situations, to get real optical scientists to prove that that just does not work. Because it seems ludicrous. It seems ludicrous that, yeah, it would appear like a flat Earth because of mirages, but that's their theory. That's the theory that they're bringing on. But if we could actually physically disprove that optics work that way, then we could break that entire theoretical argument and they would have no fallback position. That's my biggest tip for you.
I agree. I hope that happens, Arwin. I hope that we can continue to sustain momentum and interest in the Isle of Man. And I do value your criticism because, as I say, it's echoed by the people who are finding this tedious. It's like, yeah, tedious but necessary. And, you know, I do want to keep the show interesting. I want to keep the interest alive because then hopefully when people do share the show and hopefully it reaches that one guy who's got this equipment, knows how to use it and is interested in helping. You know, by people sharing the show, we had a guy watching it on the Isle of Man who's hopefully going to help us take some real-world measurements at that side. So you know,
we
that's
could
down
just
to
look
people
for
interested.
them. Go and Google, like, hey, surveyors, and just see who is a professional surveyor, and then we seek them out. Because I don't think surveyors are generally interested in flat Earth or debates about the flat Earth versus the globe. They're just doing their jobs, and they're just trying to stay out of complicated things
I
that
agree.
could bring them potentially into trouble. So I think that if we really want to attract these people into proving our arguments, we'll have to seek them out, because I don't think they're gonna come wandering in by chance. Maybe some surveyor or an optical scientist might just happen to bump into flat Earth clues or whatever, or get told by a colleague, and then he might be interested, but that's not a guarantee. I think that if we're gonna have to move this debate along, then we're gonna have to seek them out.
Maybe.
Because
I mean,
that's
like I
going to
say,
go a lot faster if we seek them out.
Yeah, I mean, there's normally a cost attached to that, but like I keep saying, I hope people share the show because it does increase diversity in terms of who's watching and who might get involved. So the guy on the Isle of Man was a perfect example of that, and some of his mates that came along off the back of that, same principle applies. So please share the show if you're watching.
Yeah, I agree with that. It does definitely have its advantages to just keep on talking about it. People will bump into it, and yeah, that's basically a free crowd that is joining in, that could join either side. So,
Hey, LMB, how you doing?
Good morning.
Is it still morning? Good afternoon.
That's the first time I've ever agreed with Arwin, ever.
no, it's not. It's the second time, but you probably forgot because you're so old.
Yes, I am getting on a bit. How are you, Arwin?
I'm doing fine.
Great.
So is it worth asking Alan B for what value he thinks that this water level is at, or should we let that drop for now and move on?
You can ask me if you wish.
If I ask you, will you give me an answer?
I certainly will.
Okay. What value would you think, as an estimate only, non-binding, but nonetheless, and be honest, if this from the lens down to the rocks is accepted at 20 feet by Miles and calculated by Alk the liar, what value would you put the rocks bit down to the water level?
I think I'd go with the audience survey maps, as they're only 3 centimetres out.
I've never heard of an audience survey map.
Ordnance.
Well done.
What word?
You'd go with the Ordnance Survey Map. Okay.
Ordnance. Is that what you said? Ordnance. How do you
So the
spell
problem
that?
with that is that it's measured to mean sea level, and we have a high tide situation, so that's why we're asking you.
I think he's actually mispronounced it as well. How do you spell ordnance?
Are you eating again, Riley?
I'm having my breakfast. How do you spell ordnance?
Is this a pub quiz?
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say.
Word.
Took the words out of my mouth, Alan.
How do you spell Flat Earth Dictates? Posted
So
by
you
Anthony
don't know how
Riley.
to spell it then? No? There's no I in it, by the way. It's O-R-D-N, not O-R-D-I-N.
Oh, we're down to ridiculing people and the way they speak, are we?
No, it's just citing a
Dirty,
citation and getting it wrong.
Oop.
So what you're saying is you'd go with the Ordnance
Come on,
Survey
Alan,
map.
act
So
your age. You're a veteran. You should be
Yes,
an
you
example, not be ridiculing people. Like,
you are correct, of course. I'm sorry, Arwin.
You obfuscated the question, Alan B, and said you'd go with a map that you can't pronounce.
So, Alan B, what value do you think, given that Miles... So does that mean that you're going to support Miles' assertion that this is another 20 feet?
What does the map say?
Yeah, we're asking you what you think. I know this is a tricky one for a lot of Globers, asking for an actual opinion that's not come from a book or someone telling them, but it's just try really hard to have an original thought, Alan. Try.
I'm going with the map.
That's not an original thought, is it? I'm trying to get you to just break free of that paradigm where they control you into telling you
Nathan,
what's what.
Nathan,
Give an opinion based on
I'm
what
not
you
willing to
think,
make
Alan.
things
You can
up.
do it. I'm with you.
Ordnance Survey map, please.
I'll go with the men in white coats, please. Whatever
If
I'm
we're gonna go
told
with-
to tell,
if
whatever
we're
I'm
going
told
with the
to
Ordnance
believe,
Survey
I'll
map.
believe. If I'm told that that's right, that's right. Consensus reality.
Well, Nathan,
So-
you argue from a position where everything is incorrect and everyone is lying to you. One could say that you're slightly paranoid.
No, I don't claim everyone is lying. Specifically, Miles Davis about this particular observation and his viewer height measured by two different people, and his estimation of 20 feet for this specific piece of shoreline. That's specifically what we're accusing somebody, an individual, of lying about, Alan. So now we're trying to get your estimation, and you're obfuscating by saying you'd rather go with what men in white coats tell you that you should tell us, rather than having an individual thought of your own, which it seems you are
Men in
incapable
white
of.
coats do the maps.
Yeah, let
come
someone
on,
else do
Alan,
it
you're
for
a
you. In
veteran.
other words,
You've seen
Alan,
the,
you are
you've seen
incapable
war. You
of
should be able to
individual
make
thought.
estimations. Your life depended on it. Come on.
I'm going with the map.
Did you go all coward?
No. When
Well,
in
then
war,
make an
can we just-
estimation.
Arwin.
Can we just get a figure? If you go on with the map, that means Miles has done the maths. Does that mean you put 20 feet to it like Miles does, right?
Why are you on top of the hill? Why did you...
Sorry, do you want to answer the question
the
for us?
images
This is the
from the
question
bottom.
in hand. You've joined while we've been talking about this for about an hour, so if you thought you would get away with not answering it, you've got another thing coming. So if you're saying the Ordnance Survey maps, Anthony has just asked you, if you go with the extrapolation made by Miles Davis, therefore you attribute 20 feet to this section, because that's what using the Ordnance Survey map is and was when this observation was claimed at 40 feet. So if you're saying Ordnance Survey, I'm happy to do exactly what Anthony said and put your value as 20 feet.
Very well.
Okay, Alan B says 20 feet.
So it's no longer a question mark, it's now a statement. Thank you very much, Alan. Now,
You're welcome.
should we move?
By the way,
Should we move-
those red shoes, they were yours, weren't they?
Oh, and the other thing, Arwin, just to let you know, Arwin, the other reason why this is important is because Miles has put himself 5 feet above the height that I put myself. So I put myself at 35 feet above the water, but Miles has put himself at 40 feet above the water. So, and I'm clearly higher than what this guy is. So one of us is lying. This is why we're dealing with it, because one of us is lying. And I'm happy that
Well,
my
that
position
was
is relatively
blatantly
accurate.
obvious for a long time that he's a liar.
Yeah, that's why we're doing it,
The
because one
Cure
of us
even
has got
made a
it wrong.
song after him.
Anyway, Alan B, what were you just about to say before I rudely interrupted you?
Why did you have to go up the hill to take all the images?
I didn't have to go up the hill to take the images. I went up the hill to look at Blackpool Tower. I've been over this many times.
Can you,
Oh.
do you know on the weekend, could you take some images from the sea level?
Yeah, but then you can't see over the refraction zone. It's still there.
Yeah, there's a
No,
brick
you
wall
can't-
of mirrored
you can't see over the
refraction in
dirty
front of us.
air.
No, a refraction zone. It's always there. It's part of perspective.
Maybe if he can't see over the refraction, Arwin, maybe he could shut his eyes and they'd stop projecting.
That
Well,
doesn't make
I
any
could-
sense.
I could take images. I could. But we're actually going there to do
Please do.
other things that are
picture
more of a
medication,
priority
Alan, you're
than just
starting
one
to
person's
break.
request on pictures of. Because we know that we're just going to get a big layer of refraction that is going to be a brick wall, and it's going to stop us from seeing stuff like Ramsey, the floaty land. We know that that's what the case is. I know you guys don't calculate for it, but we see it and it's there. So we know that's what we're going to see. It would be a waste of an observation. That's why we're getting higher, so we can see past that miragey stuff. And then we see stuff that shouldn't be there. Seems just perfect that someone's kind of created this kind of illusionary thing that stops us from seeing as far as what you think that you would see on a flat Earth. It's almost
The
by
refraction
design.
zone is like a slant. It's just one little corner and it goes on in a straight line. It's not cumulative. That's the whole point about it. The curvature suggests that it would fall down cumulatively the further you go into the distance. But practical observation proves that this is just not the case. There's just this refraction zone, one slant, the edge, first perspective, and after that it goes on in a straight line. And that proves it's no curvature. And yeah, you can just say, yeah, well, you didn't look down enough, because you're literally trying to hide behind the refraction zone and just saying, yeah, look, if you just look down low enough, then you can't see anything.
What's so funny?
you
He's
can't
answering
see the
you,
missing
Alan.
curvature.
Sorry. What's so funny? What are you laughing at?
I agree with
It
Arwen
just-
on this point.
It's just senility.
You're just making stuff up. Refraction zone.
Sorry, this has
dirty
been
air.
I've been
demonstrated,
talking
Alan.
about this
Hold
for
on, Alan,
half
let me
a
just,
year
let me
now.
just answer that. Owen,
I get
bear
you're
with me a
kind of
sec.
senile being that old and all, and that you're forgetting that all the time, and just thinking and assuming that I'm making it up on the spot, but I'm not.
It's been demonstrated
I've
on
been
this
mentioning
show.
this for half a year now. You should
Sorry,
pay
can I
more
just
attention now.
get a word in, Arwin? So this has been demonstrated by Ranty on this show. So he took a picture of a boat and went up and down the hill and showed how much of the bottom of the boat was cut off. He has demonstrated this. So you're asking why we don't go down to the beach? Well, if you go down to the beach, it cuts stuff off from the bottom more severely than if you go up a few feet. So that's why we don't go down to the bottom of the beach. I know Sly Sparkane wants to tie everyone to the beach, so we've got that lovely refraction layer for him to argue about. But the bottom line is I would encourage people to get a bit higher. If you're too low, you will have stuff cutting off from the bottom, as demonstrated by Ranty in his boat. Go up a few feet higher and you can see a lot more. What a shock.
Well, it's also demonstrated
They
by Miles.
they want us to hide behind the refraction zone so we don't see the missing curvature. That's what it comes down to, literally.
Yeah, they want to see the obstruction of the refraction and then claim its curvature.
Yeah.
I love you,
Because
Owen.
if you go up high enough, you will see that there is no cumulative curve. And that's why you want us to stay low down to the ground. Because then all you see is the refraction zone blocking your view.
So this is a reason why you wouldn't go low to the ground, because Miles the Liar Davis has done so, and he claims that he sees stuff that perfectly supports the what's he call it, the sphericity of the Earth. I think he uses that phrase. When I can get one of the, there we go. So look at these turbines. He thinks that this supports the sphericity of the Earth. Let's find a clip where I can show it where there's like the three layers. And he thinks that this is curvature. I want to find the one. There was one particular. There we go. That's it. Hold that there. Let's move his mouse out of the way. Let's catch it while he's not. There we go. Now Miles argues that. What?
Sorry, go on, Alan.
Riley, if you look at those windmills,
Yes.
can you see them? Can you see them?
Yes.
They're all the same size.
No. See the size of the hub on this one? Why is the hub on this one hugely different to the size of the hub on this one? Why is the hub size on this one a little bit bigger than the hub size on this one? They are clearly not the same size.
Well, they're in the refraction zone, so it's getting
Correct.
mirage blurred.
Refraction zone.
Yeah,
No, hold on. Let's just
Alan.
hear.
That's
Hold on,
what it is.
hold on, Owen. I want to hear
Sorry.
Alan's
So sorry
alternative.
to break your curve dream.
What's your
Alan?
explanation for this, then, Alan? Why do we
Yes.
have turbines? Are you saying that that's a different physical size turbine?
No, they're all
Alan.
the same size when they were planted in the sea.
No.
Why
Why are
is
they
there an-
different in this image?
Have a
Alan.
guess.
Alan,
No, I'm asking
can you. Tell us why
Don't
this
ask
one?
me to have a guess when I'm asking you that question. You're
No,
saying they're all the
I'm
same
asking
size
you.
at
I'm
their
in charge
location.
now.
I'm
Alan
saying
B
they don't look
dictates.
the same size based on this picture, Alan. Do you see that? It's been pointed out that they're not the same size. Why, Alan?
Because Alan B dictates. Stay away with the flat Earth debate.
Yeah, do you want to go and look it up online so you can find out what a men in white coat tell you is the answer?
You know the answer, Nathan. You just like to argue.
Alan, you're the
No.
oldest internet troll in the world.
No, hang on.
Thank you,
Nathan
Owen.
doesn't know. Nathan's a flat earther and he's credited with 0 intelligence. So we're asking you for the answer, Alan. Can you just tell us what
He
is
just
the
called you
reason?
stupid, Nathan. Riley
No.
just called you stupid on your own
No, he
show.
said I was credited with 0 intelligence because I'm a flat earther. I think that's pretty accurate. I am credited with 0 intelligence. I see it in the comments plenty. Doesn't mean I'm stupid. We're asking you the question based on the fact that you're obviously a very clever man because you can read a book and parrot it. You can go to Ordnance Survey and read a line. But you can't give an individual thought. You're incapable of that. But now we're asking you for an individual thought again. We're demonstrating to the audience how incapable you are of individual thought.
I think the audience
So-
love me, though.
So I'll ask you
Yeah,
the
as a
question again,
clown.
Alan.
Press
Can
1
you
if you
see
love
Alan?
Alan.
Alan, can you see that this hub appears to be reflected underneath it? And we know that in real world, there isn't 2 hubs. So can you explain to us what's going on here? Because we're stupid and we don't understand it. Why is this a second hub here?
Is it a smudge?
No, we can see it. So can the audience. Can you not see it? Do you need to put your glasses on?
I've got my glasses on, actually.
Right.
Got
So
the
can you see that there's 2
Specsavers.
hubs there?
There's 2 hubs there. There's a hub, another one underneath that one. There's one there. There's like there appears to be a mirroring going on. There's another one there.
Point out that
Why is
Alan
that?
has
If this
stopped laughing. This is no longer funny, apparently.
What? I'm still laughing.
No, you
Every
weren't.
time Owen
You maybe
says it,
started because I've pointed out that you've stopped.
Well,
But there we
Miles-
go. We're on the same question that he thought was hysterical, and Arwen's explanation has been given. Now we're waiting for one from Alan about the hysterical explanation that Arwen gave.
It's not. What do you think it is?
Still incapable of an original thought, Alan. Wow. I would
Come on,
be
Alan.
embarrassed at this point.
So
Would
let's
you-
look at the picture. From a baller's video, we see that there is a hub. We see there's a thicker hub, and we see there's a really, really, really thick hub. And this particular baller thinks that this is the curvature of the Earth that he's seeing, and he declares it as so. He says it's entirely what you would expect on an oblate spheroid Earth. However, what's not expected to be seen on a spheroid Earth, we're not expecting to see. Oops, let's put that back in with a straight line. We're not expecting to see a doubling of what this particular thing underneath it. We're not expecting to see a doubling of this thing underneath that. How is this explained? Because it is clearly not curvature, Alan. So what is the explanation for it in science, please?
Well, if they're all the same size when they're planted in the sea and they're all at the same height, why are they not the same height in that picture, Riley?
That's
That's
not
not
an
what we were
explanation.
asking.
That's another
That's
question.
not the question we asked. You seem to be incapable of original thought, and you're just capable of asking a different question. Are you going to give us an answer, Alan? Because at the moment you're proving pretty useless. You're just chewing up
I
lots
think
of time,
Eleanor tried
not
to
giving
answer
a
that.
single opinion on anything.
I'm asking a question.
Right. Did you hear the bit in the intro when I said to express your views on the shape of the Earth? Did you hear that bit?
I am expressing my
No,
views.
you're not.
So again, Alan, what's the science for what
They're
we're
looking
looking
at
at,
the
please?
picture, Riley. Why
What's
are
the science?
If you don't
Turbo-
get an answer from
turbo
Alan, I'm going to
blades
eject
fit
him.
in the
I'm going to
water.
eject you if you don't answer this question, Alan, because you're here to express your views on the shape
Oh,
of the Earth.
Nathan, you are a bully.
No, I'm not a bully. I'm
No.
asking you very simply to answer a question.
Ask me the
I
question.
think your voice changer just had a bug.
No, I was just joking around, Owen. I did
Yeah.
enjoy your piece.
Well, you
though.
accidentally pushed the off button. Your voice changed
I
back.
just went, no.
Okay, well, I'm going to go on a limb, and I'm going to say that this is not the effect of the curvature of the Earth. This is not entirely consistent with what you would expect on a spheroid Earth, because there is no reflection or mirroring or stretching or distorting on the curvature point. So I'm going to call nonsense on the claim that was made by the Baller's video.
Before
What's
you make
your
that claim,
explanation,
Riley, do you know the temperature, the air temperature, the water
I don't
temperature?
care what the variables were. I'm asking you, what's the explanation for what we
I don't
see?
care what the variables were.
What's the explanation? Is it curvature or is it something else?
Curve, baby.
So you're saying
Curve.
curvature of the Earth will make things replicate themselves below themselves. Is that what you're claiming, Alan?
It's refraction.
Oh, so it is
Right.
refraction. So you agree with Arwin. Wow,
So you don't
that's a
agree
turn
with
up.
the Baller. So you don't agree with the Baller that claims this is the curvature of the Earth then?
Better get on to Miles Davis, Al. Better get onto him right quick and tell him it's refraction, like we think.
Call him out.
Call him out,
I
Al.
think he accidentally gambled.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's
Still
done.
funny now, isn't it? Now you've made a right cock of yourself.
Swearing language.
Cock, as in chicken.
Oh, come on, Nathan. Loosen up a bit.
I'm perfectly loose, Alan. We've just made a cock of you, and now you're laughing, and I think it's
So-
funny too.
So let's
Great.
just conclude what he's just said. That he's just said that it was refraction, right? So in the context of where the original video came from, let's just go and put a comment on the video saying that Alan B, a ball earther, thinks that this is refraction. So Alan B, a ball earther, claims this is not the curvature of the Earth. He says it's actually
That's not what I said,
That's
Riley.
not fair,
we
Anthony.
did.
refraction.
He said it by accident. He doesn't mean it.
I
He
said
doesn't mean anything.
curvature and refraction.
Curvature
See?
and refraction. Oh, no.
No,
slight
that's not what
adjustment
you
to be
said.
made. No problem.
It is.
But it was an accident, you know that.
It is. Ask Arwin. Arwin, witness, please. Witness.
Witness to what?
No, I'm
That
citing
you
what your words
accidentally
were at the
tried
time.
to make a coherent answer?
Oh, that was
Well,
uncalled for.
No, that's
Nathan
literally what
Debate
that
Show.
was. You mistakenly gave the correct answer.
There's been a lot of victim cards being played today. I wonder why that is.
Maybe it's because you're a bully.
Yeah, there it is again. Accusations of bullying again on this particular show. Couldn't have anything
More
to do with
bullying?
the mass flagging that's planned for today, Alan, that you're accusing me of bullying when you just obfuscating a question for about 10 or 12 minutes.
That's flagging. People turning up with flags.
Yes, mass flagging. It's something that people do when they automatically decide that the content of a show is going to be inappropriate before it's even aired. And then they coalesce and decide that they're going to flag that show in advance of it being broadcast. I put a little
Hold on.
note
Does
at the
that,
beginning
does that
from...
mean I'm not get on?
No, I'm just saying it's a coincidence that you're playing victim card over and over again. Funny.
He's a bally.
I am bald.
Call us a bully, you're a bally.
I did enjoy your speech earlier, though, Arwin. It's great to have you on the Globe side.
No, I wasn't battling on the globe side. I was saying it's no use continuing this on because ballers will never concede because it's not about getting you to concede because you never will. Because I think all of you have long by now figured out that you are lying and you just want to keep it that way. So it's no use trying to prove you're wrong because you're never going to concede to it anyway, even if it is proof in plain sight. It doesn't matter to any of you, really.
Shall I translate that for you? You're bored of this. 138 hours.
Can you stop bullying me, please? I don't like it. I don't like you saying I'm boring. It's really affecting me. I'm getting a bit upset.
Sorry, Nathan. Don't
Please
you
don't
cry
bully me.
yourself.
I don't like this, Alan. Please.
Don't cry yourself to sleep.
I'm
know
going
you
to
do
try
mostly.
not to.
Now you are being a bully, Alan.
I'm joking, Arwin.
Oh, it's
We're all
just a joke.
Well, it's not funny.
Yeah,
It's-
same here. We're just joking about Miles the liar. No, we're not. We actually are calling him a liar.
Miles seems like a nice gentleman, actually.
well, liars can be nice sometimes.
He bumbles a bit. Not as much as Rumpus, but
Yeah, especially when he
know.
lies.
Rumpus goes on somewhat wrong. I don't know how you put it. I mean, I like the guy and he talks sense, but he doesn't need to do a 20-minute documentation presentation just to make one point.
I love the fact that you just said rumpus goes on. Hello,
He does.
pot, kettle, you're black.
He does. I'm not calling the pot kettle black. Rumpus goes on. I've never once made really a presentation.
Going on and on and on.
I've never done it in the way of a teacher to a scholar. I've done it in this is what was said. This is the proof. He does it is, here's what we can talk about refraction for 25 minutes and mesmerize you with nonsense.
The problem is there's a difference, Anthony. And those two guys, Miles and Rumpus, have an education. And I'm guessing that you have an education from a comprehensive school. Perhaps some O-levels, a CSE or two.
Don't guess.
We're just educating ourselves by actually figuring it out instead of being told what the reality is supposed to be by a bunch of wannabe intellects that have learned everything from books.
Can we move on to GeoStreamer now that we've settled this? This is refraction.
Curve and refraction, Riley, that's what I said.
You didn't. Got about 20 minutes left, a little bit under. I've just stopped screen sharing. Do you want me to share you again?
Well, yeah, actually, I'll put it back on, actually. No, yeah, stop. Yeah, put me back on because we can go. Where was it? It was in.
But just let me know when you're ready to be shared. If you want to have a fiddle, just when you need to actually present something, just ask.
It was Soundly, wasn't it? It was on his channel. What the point was?
I think the point is define refraction.
There it is.
Soundly here.
Well, that's the point, because you guys call it the bending of light following an arc around 7/6 of the radius of the Earth. I mean, how many times have I read that to you on the standard refraction metabunk nonsense website? That's what your definition is. My definition is, well, refraction is an optical effect that we see, including things like mirages, you know, the real science version of it, not the pseudoscience version of it.
I can better define it for you, Riley. Refraction is the air thickness actually bending up the light in the far distance, causing a slight slant, an optical slant downward. It's the bending up of the light through the thickness of the air. It's actually a lensing type effect. That is what refraction is, and it's there in all optical things. It's in all observation there is a refraction zone. Unless you are in the theoretical vacuum of space, because you actually need a medium to cause a refraction effect. And that is why when the air is very clear on, say, extremely cold days, then the refraction is minimal, while on very moist days, the refraction is very strong. That is the definition of refraction.
Amazing.
Thanks, I've got I have Thingy's video on. Is it worth trying to go through this while we have a real bad distractor in? Because he's obviously not going to allow us to do it.
I'll let you do it, Riley, but I promise I'll behave.
Thank you, Alan.
So do we just get it to the point where GeoStreamer starts putting in the maths?
Yeah, if you like. Can't find you, where are you? Big boss man, there you are. Yeah, you're ready to go.
Okay, so when I left the Steve's channel the other night, because he said that it was invalid, that for me was the end of the debate. As far as I was concerned, it stops there. If he's put it in the bin at that point, that's his position, it's his opinion, and he's entitled to do that. But there's no point in me debating it, so I left. And essentially, I didn't pay any attention to anything that was said thereafter because I was gone, and there was no point. However, eventually they did get onto this point because Chris put up with the nonsense, and they got to a point where Alex GeoStreamer starts talking about the whole point of what the whole observation was. Now, this is essentially what he says. I'm going to play it. It's not that long, but this is what he says.
290 feet. Okay, so the distance in miles, this is what the distance between obviously the observer in St. Bees and the target on the Isle of Man is. And the view height in feet is 90 feet in this case, which was the 27 meters, which the rumpus provided. So the 90 feet is the observer height over mean sea level. And what you get is the refracted hidden value of 270 feet. So if the cliffs are 290 feet, you have about 72 to 73 feet of the cliffs that should be over the horizon under standard refraction conditions. So yeah, according to spherical geometry, including refraction, it is clearly visible.
Okay, so it's fairly visible. So what we're talking about here is the hills at Bride, which is the floaty land on the right-hand side. Now, what he's done to get this to be entirely visible is he's put the observer height up to 90 feet, but then he's misrepresented. Basically, what he's actually pulling back here is the tippy top of one hill in Bride.
Gary,
but he's claimed.
Can you hear us, Gary?
Hello, how are you doing, Nathan?
Very well. Good to have you, Gary.
Hello, Anthony. Hello, Alan. Hello, Aaron. How are you doing?
Hello, Lottie says.
Lottie says, no, I'm not Lottie, Nathan. I'm not Lottie.
Okay. Well, we're in the middle of something. If you can just hold your tongue for a couple
That's
of minutes.
not a problem.
Thank you.
So the point that GeoStream is making at this point is that he's claiming on Miles Delias Davis's advice that he's able to pull back the tippy top of one of the hills in Bride, and I think it's this one in the front that he's talking about, and it's literally the tippy top of it. Now, the problem with it is, let's just say that he's done it right. Aside from the fact I'm now 3 times the height that I originally claimed, and they have to put me up that high to have any chance whatsoever to bring something
3
back.
times the height. That's ridiculous, Nathan.
Sorry, Gary.
Sorry,
just
Anthony.
asked you to
I forgot
keep
it's
your mouth
Anthony.
shut, so you can't cope with that. Alan's managed it. Correct me if I'm wrong. He said that the hill at Bride, according to him, was 270 feet. Is that correct? Is that what he said?
Correct that he said it, or correct in fact?
No. He claimed that the hill that he's bringing back is 270 feet. Is that what he said? Because he's using.
I don't know.
Don't go to Google. I just want to hear what he said. Did he say that the hill was 270 feet high according to our Ordnance Survey?
Yeah, according to spherical geometry, including refraction, it is clearly visible. The rumpus provided. So the 90 feet is the observer height over mean sea level. And what you get is the refracted hidden value of 270 feet. So if the cliffs are 290 feet, you have about 72 to 70.
If the cliffs are 290
feet. So according to spherical geometry, including to the sphericity of the Earth, we've got 12 feet of this cliff visible, according to him. The rest he's accounting for by bending the light. So, as I said at the beginning of the debate, they will invoke refraction. According to the geometry of the Earth, it is hidden. And it is. He's managed to push up the altitude beyond 75 feet, which was debated by Rumpus on that show. And he said that 75 feet was the claimed position for the 35 quoted feet on Google. Now what he's done is put it up to 90, and he still hasn't brought anywhere near enough back. He's got 15 feet of it not hidden by putting him up 15 feet higher than what Rumpus said on that very debate. So in essence, it is, according to their own claimed elevation at 35 feet on Google, 75 feet according to them, extrapolated from AS Maps, all of this hill shouldn't be seen. Exactly what I said at the beginning of the debate. It's not there. It's gone behind the curve of the Earth. You cannot see it. He's just escalated the elevation position, which is why it's so crucial to talk about it. We're measuring it, and what do you know? We're finding that it's less than Google when we measure it. They're saying it's massively higher. What do you know? Al and Miles Davis found that it's less, and they've extrapolated it out to be double the height based on Ordnance Survey. This is where the evidence is going, but they've elevated his position, and they still have they've got 278 feet of a 290 feet, according to them, completely hidden by the curve of the Earth. Yet what we actually see isn't 12 feet of it, and according to him 70 feet if you include bendy light refraction. Even though when they're making these calculations, and this is the point that Chris had them on, when they're calculating left and right by pixels, they're taking straight lines. Straight line measurements. We have a direct straight line of sight whenever he measures anything left to right. Yet when it comes to the observation of the up and down axis, it seems to be the case that he wants to actually use arc measurements, not straight lines of sight, for up and down axis. Left and right, perfectly acceptable to just concede that we see in straight lines when looking left to right, but not when we're looking up and down at things. Hello, Peter. How can we help you?
All right, Nathan.
Hello.
All right, Nathan. How you doing?
Hello.
Very well.
The other,
Oh, I mean,
the other thing to mention, of course, Nathan, is that we don't see the town of Ramsey, and the town of Ramsey is below 100 feet. So if he's bringing back the very, very tippy tops of the hills at Bride and claiming that he's brought back the land and it's entirely consistent, it would actually be sat on the horizon and behind the band of refraction that we see in the evidence that's blocking out the town of Ramsey to the sum of 100 feet, and we wouldn't actually see it. Yet he claims, listen to his words, listen to what he says.
Which the ramp is provided. So the 90 feet is the observer height over mean sea level. And what you get is the reflected hidden value of 270 feet. So if the cliffs are 290 feet, you have about 72 to 73 feet of the cliffs that should be over the horizon under standard reflection conditions. So
right, over the horizon. That means it's on the horizon, and because it's only 70 feet, and we know that 90 to 100 feet of it is blocking out Ramsey, you wouldn't even see it. So, Alex, you're going to have to make a correction there to your position, because what you're claiming is completely inconsistent.
One last point. Many, many times during the debate, you said there's a reasonable chance that you might see some of that 290 foot that he's claiming it is ridge. You've always conceded that. And right at the beginning of the debate, it was even on screen in your video, a big red arrow pointing to all the land to the right of that position. Because our claim has always been everything to the right of that particular hill is way, 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 way low to see. Too low to be seen. And that's the land that we claimed and made it clear at the beginning of the debate. What he's done is brought back something that we've already conceded could possibly be in vision. It's the rest of it to the right. All that land, as Anthony phrases it. All that land to the right of that piece. Why are we seeing that?
But not now. The answer to that, of course,
I was kicked.
Yeah.
Someone booted me.
Pardon?
I was booted.
Another
I'm
new
not
guest.
even in the
How you
chat,
doing?
so-
New guest? Can you say a quick hello? The bunny? Can you say hello, the bunny? Hello? Oh, just joined to eject the entire crew, so I'll kick Alan, as you guys have joined just to kick Arwin, just to level things up a bit. Might want to round out soon. We're pretty close to the end anyway, Anthony, if I'm honest.
Okay, but what I'll do, just before we do round out, I want to tell people what their opposing argument is with regards to the rest of the land. Am I still on screen? Yeah. Right. So I've elevated the land so that it can be obvious to people watching it, because when you see it without the elevation on, it's really difficult to see. Now, what their position is, well, there's land that's going further back into the island that explains it. And okay, I agree. There is land that goes further back into the island that explains it. But let's take, for example, this one. This is probably one of the higher ones, the highest peaks. If I put a line of sight, if I put the ruler on to get how far away from the observation height, the actual point of observation it was, guess what you've got to do to the distance, which makes the curvature even worse with it being an exponential curve. So Alex has put me in so far. He's put me in up here, hasn't he? So that one. And
well, he may have done, but the claim at the beginning was made clear. The point that is observed at 35 feet is where you see this land that he is now bringing back. If he's put you at the observation point that's higher, that's his mistake. But ultimately speaking, the land is seen from 35 feet. That was put to them on the debate. He's brought back something that was potentially there anyway, and all the rest of the land has not been accounted for. He's ignored it. All the stuff to the right of that seashell, just back out 1 or 2 steps, just for the audience on Google. This stuff with it looks like a seashell, that's what he's brought back. And we've always said, well, maybe, maybe not. But the rest of it to the right of it, what about that stuff? Now, there's, as Anthony's pointing out, saying, well, it's the stuff behind it. But then we're going up from 31 miles to about 35 miles.
So he's got this in at 32 miles, 32.06 miles. He has to knock this up to 33.4, and that's going to drop that further behind the curve of the Earth. So it makes it even more unlikely that this is going to be supporting the sphericity of the Earth, because this has dropped an exponential lot again. It's not a little bit. It's not 8 inches per mile. It's the 8 inches per mile squared. And on 33 miles, that squared difference is a lot. It starts dropping even further. But the point I'm making is that Alex is claiming that he's brought back the tippy tops of it. But if he was bringing it back the tippy tops of it, it would be sat on the horizon, but in the band of refraction that's blocking out Ramsey that sits at 100 feet or 80, 70, 80, 90, 100 feet. So it wouldn't even be seen. So Alex is nonsense. This is not reflecting the evidence that's on screen. And this is the reason why when I was discussing this with Miles Davis that I left, because Miles did the exact same thing. He brought back the little tippy tops of it, claimed that it was all of it, and then I just left because I said, no, we see more land than the tippy top of Bride that would be sat on the horizon in the band of refraction. We see land. That's not consistent with what the interpretation is that Miles made. It's not consistent with the interpretation that GeoStreamer's made. So guys, you need to add my elevation. If you're going to do it this way and fudge the maths, you need to put that to near, it's like 250 feet, guys. That's where it needs to be to represent the land that we're actually seeing, not the tippy tops, all of it. And it has to be higher than that 100 feet, because otherwise it's not going to get seen. It's going to be refracted out of the picture.
Cool. I'm happy to round out my show a little bit early. I might catch my kid off guard and actually be able to do the show ending without her jumping all over me. Let's see if I'm right. See how good her mechanics are. So with that, I will say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in, and of course a massive thank you to all of the debate panel for joining the show. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.